and it is time for Cleared to Play. Take you inside the tent, get you updated on the latest injuries in the Bay. Proud to partner with UCSF Health on this segment and bring in Dr. Brian Feeley. Good, Doc. How are you, sir? Thanks for coming on.
Feeling healthier than the Warriors, thankfully.
Yeah. Well, hey, Doc, can you give us an idea of a 40-plus minute night for an aging star and what that means when you only get one day off in between games? And by the way, I'm not just talking about the Warriors because this is true for LeBron and AD and the Lakers as well. How do you think that affects these players as the series wears on?
Yeah, I think it makes a big difference, and I think especially as the series go on, you're just exhausted. And I think when you look at the advantage of getting a series over with and having that sometimes week-long break, oftentimes you'll see a team feel a little bit rusty in game one, maybe lose game one, but often come back and win the next few games. I think that's drastically different than fading as you go through a season. And we know that players get a lot more rest during the regular season, but at this time of year, it's the rare player that's not going to feel exhausted by the end of a couple every other game series.
Does it give the Warriors some, quiet hope knowing that LeBron played 43 minutes and Anthony Davis played 43 minutes? If you can extend those two again in Game 5, does it give you maybe a little bit of an edge going deeper into a series with LeBron and Anthony Davis not used to playing these big minutes?
I would love to say yes.
Please say yes.
I also noticed that every time LeBron went to the bench, he turned himself around and came right back. I think AD is a different story. That's the first time in a long time he's had two high-level games back-to-back, and to be honest, it looked like he kind of tired out in the second half. So I'm hopeful that gives the Warriors and their transition game a little bit more speed, especially to keep the Lakers out of the half-court set. But they looked pretty strong yesterday.
Doc, we're also interested. I'm a little amazed that we haven't gotten a firm answer as to what happened with GP2 last night. We'll ask Steve Kerr in an hour, but he had an illness in the last series. Kevon Looney also had an illness. How do you see that sort of affecting these guys right now?
Yeah, I think that's a big deal. I mean, we think about these things going through teams. If one player has a flu, another player certainly looked like GP2 had the flu yesterday. I mean, he literally threw up on and adjacent to the court. I think that's going to have a big effect. You don't know how many other players are playing through something. I would not discount that as one of those additional other factors that are probably having more of a role in how the series turns out than we want.
We talked about use and even overuse in some players, but what about the rust of a player like Jonathan Kuminga? How tough would it be from a physical standpoint to go from being iced out of a series like Lonnie Walker, the fourth, to all of a sudden being injected back in? What's the ramp up like for a player to have to go from no time to significant minutes?
I think from a physical standpoint, they should be in great shape. And I think we saw that with Wiggins as he came into the playoffs. He came in after taking almost 2 months off and being in sort of game shape and was able to come in and do just fine. Mentally, I think it's a much bigger deal, and I think that's player to player. Some players do great with that mentality, and certainly we saw that last night, unfortunately. But for other players, it's hard to overcome that feeling of I wasn't being used the way I thought I wanted to be used, and that gets in their head, and so much of playing at this high level is that mental confidence that you're going to be better than everybody else on the court.
Dr. Brian Feeley, luckily we don't have too many other questions. So, Doc, great stuff. Great to have your perspective on all those things, and we'll talk to you again soon.
All right. Fingers crossed for tomorrow, guys.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Dr. Brian Feeley, the proceeding was sponsored by UCSF Health.